Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer. Welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I get the chance to learn a little bit of something about somebody else's perspective on movies. And one of the newest writers here at SiftPop, Christian, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Shane. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to, everything we're going to talk about today. And I hope that those that will be watching will get a lot of insight as well. And I just hope that, I could show you and everyone else that will be watching my passion for film and
Mhm.
inspire others who may have an interest in film.
That's awesome. We love that. And before we get started with the questions, would you like to tell everybody like where they can find you, look at any kind of stuff that you do?
Yes, so you can go on my WordPress blog. It's called christianstower.wordpress.com. You can find me on Twitter, Chris underscore Grullon 8. You'll see some of my content there, and that's pretty much my social media platform. And you can also go on gamersjournalist.com where I work as a freelancer and I cover different video games. You'll have to
Nice.
type in gamers journalist Christian Grulon and you'll see my content there.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put some of that stuff in the description on this video. So if you all want to check out what Christian's been doing, and now that we got some shameless plugs out of the way, let's
Mhm.
get things started with some of these questions. Now, Christian, this is always a fun question to ask, but what's your
Yep.
favorite film?
My favorite film is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I love that film because, we finally got to tie in Zack Snyder's 5-year plan for the DC universe when he was directing those movies. It was very cool to see the nightmare scene.
Hmm.
And Joker's appearance really surprised me. And, the way Jared Leto delivered his lines, it was like, that's the Joker. And it would have been awesome to see, the Injustice like storyline where Superman turned bad because, Darkseid had killed Lois. And, Justice League 2 and 3 would have been mind blowing had it made it to theaters, but unfortunately, I think management screwed up bad with Justice League. And, obviously with Zack Snyder, his daughter had committed suicide, and,
Hmm.
family's more important than anything. And, that's just a terrible experience to go through losing a loved one, especially to suicide. And that's still a serious issue.
Yeah, it's still shocking that they actually released this. And then I don't think Warner Brothers really thought that through with how a lot of people would react and then get upset when they didn't get more. But I think Warner Brothers screwed up a lot of things and are continuing to, and we'll see how things turn around. But yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League is definitely an improvement on basically like 2 hours of the most just generic look, we could throw out a superhero movie. And, you know, there's a lot of awesome things to get to see on screen. And it just, watching that, it's just like, well, they did Superman dirty.
Hmm.
Because you see
I
him in that
agree.
movie and you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So at least we got to see that.
Yeah, at least you got to see, you got to see a little bit what Zack Snyder was planning. In
Mhm.
Justice League 2, Superman was gonna go full rogue, and to undo the nightmare timeline, the Flash was gonna go back into the past to warn Bruce Wayne. The
Mhm.
problem was though, in Batman and Superman, the Flash he traveled too early, so they had to fix that too. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of what ifs, right? Now,
Right.
Christian, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
Yeah, my earliest memory was when I was a little kid and I had seen my mom took me to see Spider-Man.
Nice.
And that's when I was a geek for Spider-Man comics, and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was my favorite. Now,
Mhm.
Tom Holland Spider-Man's my favorite now. And, when I went to see the Avengers, just the crowd was going crazy. And little by little, I started taking more interest in film. And,
Mhm.
personally, it helps me cope with the daily stresses of life. And it's a way for me to just get away from all the chaos and just daily stresses of life.
That's a great early memory of going to the movies, checking out the first Spider-Man.
Hmm.
I don't think I saw the first two in theaters, but I did see the third one.
Okay. How'd you like
And
the third one?
you know what? It's funny because like I'll watch the third one still and be like, you know what? If you take a couple things out of this, this was still a good movie.
Right.
It just I don't know whose idea it was to cast Topher Grace as Venom. Like, I don't think that really worked out well. But I like the Sandman in it, and I thought it made sense with Harry's arc, and I think James Franco definitely had a lot of fun in that movie too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh my god, that pie scene. It's like, how's
Right.
the pie?
Exactly.
So
That had
good.
that had to be improvised.
Had to be. He just enjoyed saying that way too much. But
Right. Exactly.
you know what? The Spider-Man really changed things, and that's a special memory there. Now, Christian, what's your favorite genre of movies?
Oh, my favorite genre of movies is like action and adventure, particularly with American superhero films.
Hmm.
I usually like documentary films as well. I was
Okay.
just watching something earlier on the 9/11 attacks, particularly with Flight 11 and Flight 93. It
Hmm.
was definitely very sad, but it was really inspiring, hearing about the heroic efforts on the passengers of Flight 93, because
Hmm.
that particular flight was targeting, I think, the White House. And, thanks to those brave souls, the attackers never got to reach their target.
Hmm. I think a lot of people sleep on documentaries and don't
Yeah,
give them
I think
enough
so too.
attention. And you know what? There's a lot of great documentaries out there, some of which, are just as engrossing and engaging as narrative film. And you can learn a lot from watching documentaries. So
Absolutely.
I'm definitely a big fan of documentaries, but also love to pop in a action movie, a superhero movie, and just have some
That's
fun too.
me. Right, right.
Now,
That's me.
Christian, who's your favorite filmmaker?
My favorite filmmaker. Oh, that's a tough one. I guess I would have to go with uh Christopher Nolan.
Hmm.
I loved, The Dark Knight. Out of those three Batman films, The Dark Knight is my favorite one. I also loved Dunkirk,
Hmm.
and just the realism in that film, and just there was no there was no star in that film. Every actor, had its own chance to shine. And I'm looking forward to seeing his film Oppenheimer,
Yep.
which will come out in July this year. Um, and I'll like Andy Muschitti as well, because he directed The Flash,
Hmm.
and we're gonna see the trailer for that film on this Super Bowl weekend. So hopefully that film does good.
I am very, very interested to see how that Flash movie turned out. And I guess we're going to find out soon. It's actually coming out this year. And yes,
Yep.
7/21/23, Oppenheimer. That's
All right.
you know what? I'm such a big Nolan fan, and it's so funny sitting in a theater because that's where you're going to see a Nolan trailer because he
Hmm.
doesn't release them online at first. And you know what? Just sitting there and you see Syncope pop up, and you're just like, it's Christopher Nolan.
Yep. That's Nolan for you.
Yep. And seeing that Oppenheimer trailer, I'm like, I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, is he going to go full blown like Oscar period piece drama, and then you're watching this trailer,
Mhm.
like there's something intense and insane about this. And I'm like,
Right.
it's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out. But I'm excited for Oppenheimer. That's definitely one of the
Yeah.
films I'm most excited about for this year. Now, who are some of your favorite actors and actresses?
Oh, okay. I love that. Some of my as far as actors, I can't really think of one off the top of my head. But as far as actress, my favorite actress is Zendaya.
Okay.
Um, I did not watch her when she was in Disney. I
Hmm.
didn't, and I knew she was an actress, but I didn't really watch much of her stuff. But then when I saw her on Euphoria and just how she transitioned from like being like this child star to doing more mature content, I was like, wow, I just loved her range, and I think she does a great job in portraying, Rue Bennett and really channeling into the issues, the emotional issues with drug addiction and trauma. And of course, she's very pretty. So
Yeah.
Tom Holland is a very lucky man. I'm sure he's treating her right. He better. But yeah, I just really really like Zendaya, and I definitely want to see more of her. Yeah.
She's a ridiculously talented actress, and especially for somebody so young. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
wow. And I'm pretty sure the first time I saw her was probably in The Greatest Showman when that
Okay.
came out. And she has a decent amount of screen time, especially like besides Hugh Jackman. I don't think anybody has like a ton of screen time in that, but I do really appreciate like the storyline with her and Zac Efron, and they have a couple of great numbers together in that. But then I just loved her in Spider-Man.
Oh yes, me too.
If you're gonna like reimagine MJ, and
Hmm.
that's just it worked out so perfectly, and it's
Yeah.
very obvious that her and Tom Holland have a lot of chemistry together.
Oh yeah,
So, and
definitely.
you
You definitely saw it in Spider-Man Homecoming. Like
yeah.
you can see the chemistry between the two.
Oh, and Euphoria is just a whole other
Yeah.
level. And
To be honest, yeah, like to be honest, it's a little surprising when she says curse words. Because like I don't know, I just don't like see her like that. Like I don't see her as the type of person that would like, you know, curse a lot and stuff. Yeah.
well, and it's interesting because so many people have gone through like the Disney, like growing up as like a Disney actor, and then it's just like, well, it's not how I actually am, and
Right.
or like I have range and can do different things, and even just that one diner episode of Euphoria was just like, this is some top notch acting. That whole entire being able to sell just basically just one scene for a whole entire episode is sitting at a diner.
Hmm.
That's some impressive acting, and she really held her own in that. So,
Yeah, and just the fifth episode in season two, Euphoria. Yeah, Zendaya, she went off on that one.
yeah. Now, Christian, what's a film that you could watch every day?
A film that I could watch every day. A film that I could watch every day is Avengers Endgame. I
Mhm.
just love the culmination of, the Infinity Saga. Um, and and seeing, you know, this concept of time travel, even though we really can't travel through time, that was really cool. And just seeing every Avenger have their, conclude their story arc,
Mhm.
that was really cool to see. Um, and seeing everyone that was dusted off come back, that was, one of the climax, the film's, climax. And you got to see how more sinister, Thanos really was. You understood him in terms of like the world's being overpopulated and stuff like that, but he really took extreme methods, and you got to see a darker side of Thanos.
You definitely got to see a much nastier side of him in
Hmm.
that, I guess, younger. I don't know how old he is. I don't know how much like 8 years is going to make a difference, but definitely did because this was a much younger, more aggressive and angry Thanos, and one that had all of his work threatened. So he was back against the wall. And yeah, Endgame is such a fun ride, and also eh, make bring some tears too along the
Oh,
way.
of course.
And oh, every time I listen to Portals by Alan Silvestri and
Mm-hmm.
just On Your Left, and that whole entire scene is something else. That's like that's comic book movies right there. That
Exactly.
scene is just like just seeing all those portals and all of them lining up and just Avengers.
Yeah, right. And he finally said Avengers assemble. But yeah,
Yep.
we all knew they were coming back, you know.
Yeah.
You know, slowly leaks were being put out. It was like, okay, it's gonna be time travel and they're gonna come back that way and they're gonna get the stones back by using time travel.
It's a time heist, just like
Time
Ant-Man
heist. Yeah,
said. So
right? Time heist.
there you go. Now, Christian, what's a film that you love that connects to another interest of yours?
Hmm. I would say, well, actually, I just watched this last night. I would say Knock at the Cabin.
Okay.
Definitely, because there was, I'm not sure if you saw that film, but
Hmm.
there was definitely a lot of religious references there. And I'm a Christian, and
Hmm.
another interest of mine is like Christianity, obviously, and Christian history and the Bible. I love the Bible, and I just love the history because there's a lot of history in the Bible. So definitely Knock at the Cabin.
And there's a lot of like end of the world biblical parallels going on in that film, and obviously won't get into it because it's a fresh
Yeah, yeah,
one.
right.
But I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I've definitely gotten past Shyamalan's unfortunate period of movies, and I've been a fan since I watched Signs when I was like 11, when I
Mm-hmm,
definitely
mm-hmm,
shouldn't have because that
mm-hmm.
scared the crap out of me.
Right,
So,
right, right.
but now, who's a movie character that you feel like you connect with on a personal level?
Um, hmm, think about that. Well, I can't name one specifically, but what I can say is that I connect with characters who are, kind of like outsiders in terms of like they're not able to like socialize with anyone. They're shy and went through experience of like being like teased or bullied or
Mhm.
whatnot, and just trying to find their place in the world because these are experiences that I've gone through myself. So I relate to characters that have that kind of story arc.
Okay. And there's definitely them out there in film, and I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, especially with like the bullying and feeling
Hmm.
ostracized. Now,
Right.
what's a film that you love that you think might surprise people?
Hmm. I would say Bones and all. It was that film with Taylor Russell and Timothy. I can't say his last name.
Chalamet, yeah.
Chalamet. Yeah. Now, I said to my friends when I saw it, I do not want to eat after this film, but it was uh, it was definitely entertaining to watch, and it was nice seeing those two like try to find themselves in a world that really doesn't accept them. So I was actually able to relate to those two.
Hmm.
'Cause, not from like eating people, but
Well,
obviously that.
it was all metaphorical. Like,
Right.
obviously, what it's trying to say, but it's very true. They go on a very engaging and moving and relatable experience of connecting with
Mhm.
people.
Right. And go and experiencing how to find themselves in a society that doesn't really accept them. So I think a lot of people would be surprised at how good that film was.
It's definitely a hard watch, too.
Yeah,
Give people a heads
exactly.
up. It's just like, it's about cannibals,
Right,
legitimately about
exactly. Yeah.
cannibals. So
The
now,
book is the book is even more graphic than the movie. So,
interesting.
hmm.
That's always saying something. It's just like, it was worse than the book. And I'm like, okay, well,
Right.
some vivid imagery there. Now, Christian, my last question for you is, what do you
Hmm.
love most about movies?
What I love most about movies is just, the hard work and the creativity that goes into making film. Because
Mhm.
making film, it takes a lot of work. You have to spend a lot of money, and you want to get the right actors that could fit into the role and into the character. And the actors have to get on board and working with one another because there are, I've read some articles about like actors, list of actors that this particular actor won't work with, or actresses that this particular actor won't work with. So unfortunately, when you get to the business side of like the film and the television industry, a lot of egos and pride and just some people that are just not good individuals. But
Mhm.
I just love the creativity in film, and it helps you, it just it's a way for you to cope, with the harsh realities of the life that we live, right now.
Life
I
is
want to
tough,
see,
and
yeah,
movies are a great way to express how we feel and how to escape into something else. So I appreciate that a lot. Now,
yeah.
how I always like to wrap up the show is I give my guest a chance to ask me a question. So, Christian, what's a question you'd like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
Yeah, so what's one film that you are excited for this year?
Probably the one that I'm most excited about because I'm a huge fan of this franchise is John Wick Chapter 4. I've
Oh
always
yeah.
I have been a big action movie fan since I watched action movies with my mom growing up. And when John Wick came out, just changed things. It was not supposed to be anything. It was just this tiny little vehicle for Keanu Reeves, who was kind of like floating around in space at that point, and just it
Mhm.
clicked. And then look at it, just keeps growing, and I'm so excited for that. And I'm sad it didn't come out last May. It's supposed
Yeah,
to.
well, yeah, it was supposed to because I think, but COVID-19 that set
Yep.
things back.
Well, and
Um,
it's only a couple weeks now, or about a little over a month. It's coming
okay,
out, so I'm
okay.
excited. March seems like a fun month. We're getting Creed 3, Scream
Mm-hmm.
6. We're getting
Shazam.
Shazam, John Wick Chapter 4, and Dungeons and Dragons. It's going to be an
Yeah,
interesting
so
month.
yeah, March is definitely going to be active. So I guess my next question is, so I would someday, I'd like to be, a professional writer covering film
Mhm.
and TV. I would like to one day, go to film screenings and meet
Mhm.
actors and actresses and, ask them questions. What steps, do you suggest that I take in order to make that happen one day?
You know, I do a lot of this is like this is all a side thing for me. And,
Hmm.
I do as much as I can and get a lot out of it. I think the biggest thing is making some connections and knowing some people that can help pay it forward, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because I know I had somebody that helped me out starting to get contacts and getting to press screenings and stuff like that. So and we have a lot of cool people at SiftPop that can help each other out. So it's a good sense
Hmm.
of community and helping each other out with that. But I think the big thing is start getting yourself out there, making those
Hmm.
contacts, and you never know where it's going to lead. Because sometimes one email could lead to a whole bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah,
being
yeah,
able to
you're
take
right. You're
advantage
right.
of it. So never say no to opportunities. That's usually one of the things that I tell all my students and my student workers at the college that I work at is because you never know where an opportunity is going to lead you.
Hmm.
But
Okay. Um, so, I've definitely read some articles and I watched some videos about that what you watch, the things you watch can influence your behavior. I've read some articles, particularly about like violence in movies and TV shows can lead to someone committing acts of violence. So, what would you say to people that share concerns about, what their kids are watching or what I guess, their relatives are watching, how can you, just find that balance with enjoying yourself watching a film and TV show, but then when you're done, you don't identify yourself through the movies and TVs, and you don't act in those ways. Like you could still be sane, I guess.
Well, like I know for myself, I've been watching violent movies for way too long, probably. I started watching movies way younger than I probably should have. Watching James Bond movies when I was like 6 and watching
Oh,
Godfather when I was 10. And, you know, I think one of the big things is it's not just movies. It's not just
right.
media that influences that. There has to be some kind of disposition or
Hmm.
experience or trauma that's already
Hmm.
there. And I think the biggest thing is being less worried about the media that people are consuming and being more concerned about, taking care of people
Hmm.
and being there
Right.
for other human beings and, helping them when they're having trouble and like mental health issues and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Because a lot of that is not being able to properly process the fact that you're just watching a film.
Right. Exactly.
So I think there's a different route to that issue, but a lot of people like to point fingers at movies because it's an easier thing to scapegoat than dealing with
Right.
the actuality of it all. But you know, something like The Matrix
Hmm.
influenced people poorly. The Dark Knight did.
Hmm.
I'm sure. Well, Taxi Driver definitely did, and tried to
Right.
it influence somebody to try to assassinate President Reagan. But the thing is, it's like all those kinds of things. Like there's other things going on there. So I think the most
Right.
important thing is that we look at what the real issues are and not just try to like ban art because
Right.
that's not going to solve any issues.
Right. Actually, and a testament to that was 13 Reasons Why. I'm not sure if did you see that series?
I did not. I wasn't super
Okay.
into like Netflix at that point when that was out, but I definitely heard the buzz around it.
Right, because I guess some parents were concerned that that particular series may influence teenagers to commit suicides as like a trend. And
Mhm.
one review I read from a critic was that, oh, this show glamorizes suicide. I kind of understand where the critic was going, but for me personally, I don't think the show was doing that. I think the show was just highlighting, the problem of suicide and mental health, especially amongst, teenagers, because these are issues that people deal with, teenagers, young adults, whatever. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
It's an interesting topic, and I think in that situation, it's more important to look at the signs that are around than what
Absolutely.
TV shows they're watching.
Right.
So, but I appreciate it. You had some good questions there, Christian. So thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Um,
And I appreciate you coming on and
Thank you.
listening to my questions and giving some answers. So
Of course.
thank you so much for coming on Lost in the Wasteland.
Thank you. And I would love to do this again. And I'm definitely looking to interact and more communicate with you guys and the rest of SiftPop. And like I said, film and TV, this is a passion of mine, and I want to grow that passion and exercise that passion, and hopefully
Absolutely.
it could lead to, lead to something bigger.
Well, and we're a bunch of fun people over at SiftPop. So there you go. Um,
Right. Right.
and I'll make sure to put Christian's works and social medias in the description of this video. But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.